In modern society, it would be fair to state that the thinker, the intellectual, is placed behind the sports star and the business person, the person who's made a lot of money. This seems to be the central criterion to quote unquote success in the society. But what if you just want to take a job, an ordinary job, perhaps as a school teacher, or you want to work for the government in a given job? Is it fair to criticize you and to say that you're not a successful human being? I think not, because there are many, many people who spent their lifetime working in a bureaucracy and had some side interests. Perhaps you were a painter, perhaps you were a poet, perhaps you just like to assist your fellow human being as a volunteer, and your contribution to the society was equally as valuable, perhaps even more. And you weren't held up as an icon by perhaps your family and friends, but you gave something of yourself to the world. And you question, what does the businessman really give many times? Yes, he perhaps does provide employment, and yes, he makes a lot of people a lot of money on the stock exchange if his company is a public one. But what does he really contribute for the most part? Many times, not much. He pushes capitalism forward, but is the product useful? I think you could call the people who actually are those hardworking individuals, you could call those perhaps philosophical entrepreneurs. And many times we attribute an entrepreneur to a business person, a person who's making physical money, but the philosophical entrepreneur is an individual who's making ideas. And there are less and less ideas now more than ever, I think. The internet, of course, is lulling us into the idea that the AI can create ideas. Just give it a theme and it'll generate whatever you want. But we tend to forget that AI is only giving us back what already exists in the corpus of humanity. It's just giving us back our own expertise, perhaps repackaged, perhaps formatted in a different way with a little bit more of an intellectual sheen on it, but it's still giving it this back. And yes, AI is making great strides and great progress. I do recommend that you talk to AI, and the conversation can be wonderful. I've done it myself, and I might be old-fashioned and all of that, but I wanted to ask for her phone number, truly. I spoke of, obviously, with a female voice. Fantastic, truly fantastic. But I wasn't going to be lulled into the sense that this voice that was coming back to me was in the form of a real person, a real woman. So I think we should really make a strong attempt to respect the people that wash our cars and in our shops, or government services, the clerks in the hospitals. All of these individuals have a tremendous amount of worth, and perhaps they do not rise to the pinnacle of success, fame, and power. But gosh, their contribution is necessary if our society is going to function. If you're even a little bit thoughtful person, you realize the world is much bigger than your thoughts, truly much bigger than your thoughts. So it behooves you to make an attempt to go someplace with this piece of life, wherever that is. That's not to say that if you have a skill set, you have a magnificent body, or you are a wonderful hockey player, baseball player, football player, basketball player, why not make a lot of money? Why not represent your team, your family? Why not? But get good management so you return to school and eventually you end up and contribute. So the next time you go into perhaps a bank or a government office, just reflect to yourself about the individual on the other side. Perhaps they are a philosophical entrepreneur, if I can put it that way. And perhaps in that sense, they will earn a little bit more respect from each and every one of us. And you know what they say? You know what they say? Critical thinking is necessary, especially if you're going to be an philosophical entrepreneur, and critical thinking is great, truly great. You take care. God bless. Bye-bye. Hello everyone, Leon here. It has been truly a wonderful day. This is our 17th day on our trek across northern Spain. It is the 8th of July. The weather in the morning was quite cool, but then it became rather hot. It was a rather peaceful day, if we can put it that way. We just continued to walk across the plain, and the enormous fields of barley were just incredible. It was like a painting. It was stunning, but somewhat monotonous, many people say. We didn't find it so. It was rather interesting for us, but many people say online that you have to like the walk because it's one of those days. Well, today we'd like to talk about entrepreneurship, what it's like to be an entrepreneur. And many people say an entrepreneur is, of course, a young business person coming up with innovative ideas. But you think to yourself, there are many people that are not entrepreneurial in the sense that they don't have a private job. They've not started a business. They actually work for an institution, perhaps a government, let's say. But when you go in and speak to them, they're filled with joy. So we would like to label these people philosophical entrepreneurs. And there is actually, we have a bit of a text after this that you can read about this as such. But what is a philosophical entrepreneur? Well, an entrepreneur is an individual who's coming up with creative ideas on an ongoing basis. And those ideas make him or her love their career. They truly love their career. So you can think back in your memory, perhaps, to a teacher who changed your life. That person loved their job. They loved teaching. So we would label them a philosophical entrepreneur. Little story. One day I went into a family mart, which is a convenience store chain in Taiwan. And there was an enormous lineup of people. And when I finally got to the front of the line, there was a young man, maybe 25 or so, and I said to him, "How was your day?" And I'm thinking I'm going to hear, "It was a terrible day. I hate people," in so many words. But instead, he said to me, "Oh gosh, I had such a wonderful day. I hope the business continues when I get my own." And I said, get your own what? He said, my own store. They cost around $30,000 US dollars for the lease. And I've already raised $15,000, and then I will have my own store, if you could believe such a thing. So that's an example of a philosophical entrepreneur. Today we actually walked from Formista to Carrion de los Condes, and this was a long philosophical walk, if I can put it that way. Another story would be a man that I see every year at the tax department. He also loves his job. He is also a philosophical entrepreneur. We have a sister website called don'tbeawageslave.com, dbawageslave.com. And we're based on the thought that through creative thinking and addressing the concept of time, you can free yourself from the daily rote of a workaday life. You can truly enjoy your working life. And if you opt, for instance, to go into the world of business, take a chance on perhaps starting something and being successful, great. But if you're not one of those who feel comfortable, you can still have a job doing whatever in some institution, like I said earlier, that you can find fulfillment in. Now, many of our parents were philosophical entrepreneurs. They absolutely loved the companies they worked for. They didn't own them. Maybe they didn't even own shares, but they were tied to their jobs. They were loyal to their jobs because they felt the job had made them a better person, right? Which is what all of us want in life. Now I'll pass you to Dave for a moment.
Hello, everyone. Dave here. So, as Leon was talking about entrepreneurs and philosophical entrepreneurs, I have a story to share as well. I have a good friend of mine who he used to work at a restaurant. And then my friend decided one day that he wanted to open up a bookstore of sorts. And this was because he loves to read. So he did open up a secondhand bookstore, and he opened it up and kept it open for many years. And over time, the demand for secondhand books began to dwindle due to things such as the internet, ebooks, and other forms of technology. As such, my friend, he had to sadly close his bookstore. But instead of finding a new job to take his place, just going into um, a convenience store or a restaurant to take a part-time job doing something. Instead, he decided to change his focus towards selling antiques. And that's what he does. He goes around to different areas and buys antiques and then resells them. And he's doing what he loves. He loves the freedom that this brings him. He loves being able to travel through the week and to take vacations with his wife and to not have to worry about the routine of a daily job. Another friend of mine works for one of the national park services in the States. And again, this is not really for him, it's not a conventional job. He loves his job. This friend would also be a philosophical entrepreneur. To get this job, my friend had to first pursue a master's degree. And my friend realized that the position that he wanted was unobtainable because some of these national park positions are very, very competitive to get the job. So, what did he do? He also volunteered in some historical places over the summers whilst he was not studying to help give him the experience needed to become a National Park Service member. And now that's what my friend does. He loves his job. He loves going in every day and interpreting the history. And he loves working with the people. He is not a wage slave at all. He loves what he does.
So I think the point here basically is that I am unique as a being. There's no one like me, there never has been, and there never will be, but I must take a chance on me. I have no choice. No choice. If I really want to be happy in my piece of life, I have to have a career. So don't be a wage slave. Find a career, right? A career is necessary. And I think if you do that, you will become whatever you decide, because this is up to you again. You will find that freedom will come to you and peace will come to you because the examples we've just given, these are happy people. If you told them that they were working for a government or an institution and it was a terrible job, they would just laugh because it's not true. They're happy with what they do. So you take care. God bless. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
You take care.
Take care.
Bye.